right, now on to our keynote speaker. Each year, we look for someone to invite in to deliver a message to these 8th graders. And this year, we use that newly formed student leadership team, and we asked them to give us input into who they thought would be a good speaker. So when we initially met, we talked about it, made a list of names, came back for another meeting some days, weeks later, narrowed it down to 3 people and even put them in priority order as to who they thought would be 3 best speakers that we could get today. And we're fortunate that when we sat down with our first choice, he accepted that offer and that opportunity. And all of you know him as Mr. K.D. Burkett. So K.D. is a man of many experiences in his life. He and his wife, Julie, of 33 years, live in New Providence. They have 2 adult daughters, Heather and Jennifer. And recently, K.D. wanted me to mention that he had lost his grandmother, who was 105 years old, but wanted me to mention that that was a person he gained so much valuable life experience from. So, blessings to that family, and condolences as well. So K.D. currently serves as our middle school custodian, and he's been here for 7 years. In my 2 years that I've been here, I've also noticed that he live streams all the middle school events through Facebook, runs the soundboard, uses his technology abilities to do much more for our school. K.D. was critical in helping us get this new sound system. If you look up in the ceiling, you see all these sound panels and these new speakers. That is something that was just left undone from previous renovations, and K.D. was critical in us figuring out what would be the right things. And even as we got down to our last concert, and I thought everything sounded great, he's like, nope, I can still hear a couple of things we got to work out, I got to figure it out. So always looking to make things the best. But you'll also maybe have noticed over the years that K.D. has helped with the 6th grade newscast when they've done that in the past with Mrs. Spees. So that's what I know, but then recently talking to him, I learned so much more. Did you know that K.D. holds degrees in psychology and social work? He has used that knowledge to serve as a social worker for 28 years before coming here, and in 5 years, he was the administrator of Ames Ecumenical Housing. Now, in that time, he was also a teacher for a program entitled It Takes Two, as well as working at area hospitals in many different ways. So today, we are pleased to have our own K.D. Burkett give the keynote address to this year's 8th grade graduates. Please welcome Mr. K.D. Burkett.
There was a biker sitting at a green light. He was wearing a leather jacket. He had all the skull and crossbone stuff, chains hanging everywhere. Big long beard. He had a filthy old hanky tied around his head. And he was sitting on the biggest, meanest looking Harley Davidson you ever saw. It sounded like thunder. An 85-year-old man pulled up alongside of him on a moped. Have you ever heard of moped? There's nothing thundery about a moped. Ringy-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding. Ringy-ding-ding. The old man looked over at the bike, and you could see his eyes were filled with amazement. He said, "That's a beautiful bike." He said, "Can I look at it?" The biker sneered at the old man. He said, "Yeah, you want to look at it, look at it." So the old man leaned over and got his face about this close from the bike and just looked at every inch of it. "Man," he said, "I bet that goes fast." The biker thought, "I'll show him how fast it goes." The light turned green, he popped the wheelie, and within 30 seconds, he was doing 200 miles per hour. He glanced in his rearview mirror, and there was a little dot in his rearview mirror, but it was getting bigger. Something was gaining on him. It went by him so fast that he didn't even see what it was, and it disappeared up over the horizon. Pretty soon, he saw something coming back the other way, and as he went past him, he recognized him. It was an old man on the moped. He looked in his rearview mirror and it disappeared into a little dot. Then he saw it coming back. He stopped his bike and that moped hit the back of that bike, that big old Harley Davidson. It destroyed the whole back end of the bike, and of course the moped was nothing but metal. The old man was lying on the ground groaning. The biker got off and he said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Are you okay? Is there something I can do for you?" And the old man said, "Yes. Could you unhook my suspenders from your handlebars, please?" Now, I'm listening to you guys, and I know some of you guys are going, "I didn't get that." I'll give you a second. Here's what I want to say. If you want to be prepared for life, you got to know what you're hooked to. You got to hook yourself to something, friends, that's going to give you the ride in life that you want. In planning a few comments for today's speech, I was trying to figure out what the best thing to say to you this afternoon. I considered a combination of ideas, sayings, quotes that might inspire you to do your very best moving forward into the future you, who you plan to become. The you who might become depends on choices, your decisions, and your active or passive participation in life encounters, opportunities, and adventures. I thought of a few suggestions for success for you guys about how participation is the key. I'll say that again. Participation is the key. It leads you to successes, or even at times leading to failures that will perhaps shape your life immensely, and about how those failures may lead you to greater successes in the future if you choose to learn from some of life's hard lessons along the way. I would like you to think about taking advantage of each and every opportunity possible to gain knowledge for becoming the you of the future that you choose to be. I want to encourage your participation in activities, and many of you are involved in a lot of activities around the building. I want you to try to continue that. Activities that will aid in your growth of whom you may choose to become, because actively and consciously choosing to be involved is one of the greatest decisions you can make as you grow into maturity. And in the future, when you look back on whom you have become, you might be able to point to a life-altering decision that made you into your current self. I do not know if that will make you a more caring and loving you, or a person who is just a stinker. But whichever you do, you still get to make more decisions to affirm or alter the course of your life. A few decades ago, I met a motivational and leadership speaker named Bill Cortez. Now, some of you guys may know who that is. As of today, Bill has likely spoken to at least 1 million people in his leadership quest. Now, can you imagine speaking to 1 million people? Imagine how many opportunities he has had to learn. And all to think, his motivational and leadership workshops began with groups of students just like you guys. He started small. Students that were of middle and high school age, and got the honor to participate in one of his workshops early on. That helped begin to prove who he was. The students, they too were at their infancy of baby steps and moving toward maturity. Now, I know this is with all certainty, absolute certainty. Bill would absolutely love you guys 8th graders, you graduates of 8th grade. I know that. Bill has been in this community, not at the middle school, but he has been at the high school at least 3 or 4 times. And you guys may in the future get an opportunity to meet him. And I hope you do. Here's how I know some other things. You guys have led, maybe not in the normal way that you would think of leading, but you have led sometime or another here at South Harbor Middle School. Again, maybe it wasn't a big group, maybe it wasn't with you being number one of your class of 80, but you led. You see, leadership isn't always about a person taking the lead in the traditional way in front of others. Leadership sometimes comes in the quiet spaces of life. It's often done in a small group or with a single friend. Sometimes leadership comes privately with your life choices. Now, Bill coined a word that covers many areas of your journey. The word is yogowipi. Again, I'll say it, yogowipi. It's spelled out Y-O-G-O-W-Y-P-I. And some of you already know what this stands for. It stands for you only give out what you put in. Essentially, this means put in positives, get out positives. Put in negatives, get out negatives. Whatever fully authentic effort you put into or dip your toe into, you're likely to get out the same result. That means go into every situation in life and be authentic. And also be prepared to learn about yourself as you do it. Give yourself the very best, receive the very best. I'd also like to speak to this 8th grade graduating class about accepting responsibility. Depending on how you make choices or experiences in life's adventures, it all comes down directly to this thought. Responsibility equals your ability to respond. How you respond to issues and events in your life shows how responsible you are. You may choose to respond with excuses for avoiding responsibility, but please keep this in mind. Your inability to respond appropriately may show itself in the future choices and experiences that you may face. Excuses for avoiding responsibility, common ones, are shame, blame, deny, and quit. Let's talk about shame. If I use the word shame as an excuse, I tell myself, I'm a failure. I can never do anything right. Blame. If I'm going to use blame, I tell myself it's always someone else's fault when things go wrong. Deny. To deny, I tell myself I have nothing to do with this. I don't know anything about it. Quit. If I quit, I say this. I'm out. I'm done. It's all over. But here's a surefire way not to fall into the catacombs of no responsibility. Accept responsibility and move on. Then try again. You are the only person that can accept the responsibility of your choices or lack of choices. With life, think of mistakes as happy accidents. Now, I bring this word up because there's a guy that many of your parents would know. And I'm hoping as soon as I say the name, I might receive some smiles. How many of you guys have heard of Bob Ross? You know, the Joy of Painting guy? Okay, Bob Ross was a Green Beret. And at the time he was a Green Beret, those guys were some of the toughest fighters in the armed services that there were. Now, the SEALs were still there, but back then it was the Green Beret. That's what everybody aspired to be to. Now, Bob Ross eventually came out of the armed services and he started painting. But he had a method of painting with oils that was not traditional. Now, I know as soon as I say this, our art teacher, Miss Murphy, will understand exactly what I'm saying. He used to take oils, and paint over another oil. Now, most of you know that you are not supposed to do that. You shouldn't do that, because if you paint over wet oil, it just smears everything. Well, Bob said that's not a problem, and he figured out a way to continue to paint without letting the oil dry. But what he did was, he thought of, if I make a mistake, I will think of it as a happy little accident. Then he moved on. So just like that, you should do these very things in your life experiences as well. Because you are not perfect, nor is your best friend, and this includes your parents. We all make choices and learn. Learn from your mistakes and move on. Allow yourself a short period of time to reflect and learn from a mistake. Look for a better solution next time. Now, when I'm truly angry with myself, and I've done something that was a poor decision, or as my father-in-law would say, a boneheaded decision, I allow myself 48 hours to move forward. I will mull over it, and if I'm not done mulling over it, I allow myself another 24 hours to move forward, just like Bob did. By doing this, I try not to dwell in the dark places in my mind that will allow me to simply cast away any of my responsibility for my choice. This time is needed by me to accept and move forward. Now, this is what this whole speech comes down to. And I want you to pay attention to these two questions. What are each and every one of you known for right now? The second question is, what do you want to be known for in the future version of yourself? You have the ability to order your life in such a way that allows you to look back with no regrets. Not that you will ever make mistakes, but you will learn from those mistakes, and that you will also learn from your successes too. Don't forget to celebrate your successes. Applaud your successes, because they will help you know what you have your suspenders hooked to. It has been an honor to speak to the 8th grade class. Thank you for the 9th, 7th, and 8th grade leadership groups and 6th grade group as well for giving me this honor. I wish you all the success as you continue your journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, for those inspiring and thought-provoking words. I'm still trying to figure out how that moped caught up